Hello guys, hope you are well. Bit of a different setting today, but I thought I put a bit of a slideshow together for this one. Sorry. Today we want to talk about measuring progress, basically making sure that we are moving in the right direction. And this is very much once you start to see results and finding out how the results are and the best way to make sure you are seeing results. And yeah, let's get into this. So, first of all, let me shrink. There you go, and I'll put myself in a little corner here. So why do we want to measure progress? I talked about the check-in, the weekly reflection that I do with my clients, and this is very much a way of measuring progress as well. But in this one, we'll talk a bit more about the specific ways of measuring progress. So we want to ensure that we're moving in the right direction. It also helps us keep the motivation high, which then drives that improvement. So, and how you do this is by basically seeing that you are moving in the right direction, or if you're not, what to change. So that which leads to the next point, understanding when we need to change up or update the program. So once you start to see progress stall, or with the weekly reflection, if I see that my clients aren't feeling great, or they're struggling with something, hunger levels and stuff like that, that's when we know we need to change things up. It helps us understand and prioritize, gives us the opportunity to reflect on achievement. I mentioned this is something that we don't do enough as humans. We tend to reflect and think about what we haven't achieved yet, and this helps us reflect on what we have achieved. And yeah, it's a great way to challenge ourselves and push. Right, so now let's go into different ways of measuring progress. So number one, very common one, I'm sure 100% sure you all have heard about the scales. Whether you've used the scales as a way to measure progress before or not, I'm sure you've heard about it. There are benefits to using the scales, but it's more so when it comes to weight loss. If the goal is to lose weight, then obviously the scale is great, because the scale, what it does, it tells you the weight. There are a few pros and cons, right? So the scale gives us an idea of the trend of where you're going over time. They don't tell us much about what your body is made of, or in more sort of scientific terms, your body composition. So, for example, for me, the scale will tell me I'm quite heavy, but it doesn't tell me whether it's muscle or whether it's fat. And you can see how this can be a bit of a problem. So, in terms of pros, like I mentioned, the trend gives us an idea of change over time. So, if the goal is to lose weight, if you look at the trends, you can see after a couple of weeks, you can see the number goes down, but it's important to understand what those number, how those number can fluctuate as well. And then second is easily accessible. Everyone can just buy a scale. You can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it from, I think, the pharmacy. Don't know if anyone buys things from the shops anymore. You can get you can get everything online. Cons. So there are quite a few big cons when it comes to the scales. First of all, that number on the scale, it fluctuates, right? One day you can weigh a certain number, the next day you can weigh 2 kilos extra. Sometimes that can be a bit triggering, which leads to the next point. So because that number fluctuates so much, it can be a very triggering way of measuring progress. And I've been there, I've got loads of clients who have been there, where as soon as the number goes up, there's that panic. Then this number is actually, it's just an arbitrary number. It doesn't really mean anything. We tend to define our worth from that number on the scale, and like I said, this number means nothing. So it's very dangerous to start to define your worth based on that number. And weight loss doesn't always mean fat loss. So that goes back to the body composition. So if you are gaining muscle and losing fat, your weight might stay the same, right? So if you're using the scales as a way to measure progress, it might not be very accurate. So you might be losing fat and gaining muscle, your body is changing, but the number on the scale isn't, and then we tend to feel like we aren't progressing when actually there's a huge difference. Next, very common one is progress pictures. Little cheeky transformation pics from myself there. I'm not much of a person that shows off their transformation, but I thought for this purpose I would. But yeah, so it's a very popular method, taking pictures, seeing how your body's changing. I think sometimes you can use two different ways of measuring progress. So using the scale as well as progress pictures is a really good way to gauge your progress. So this one, it enables you to notice subtle changes in your body appearance over time, things that the scale can't actually tell you. So you might find that, right, your body is changing, but your weight isn't, and that still means you're moving in the right direction. And we have loads of data to look back on and reflect, because let's say you've been working on your body, on your fitness, on your goal for a couple of months, and if you've taken weekly pictures, you'll find that after that you'll have loads of pictures to see and look back and reflect on. Few cons: this sort of feeds into a primarily aesthetic or physique focus, which isn't always healthy. It's very much how your body looks, and I'm very much someone who advocate for understanding what your body can do rather than just what it looks like. How we feel about our physique can depend on how we are psychologically. It depends on your mental health. Sometimes you will view your body a certain way, and the next day you'll view your body differently, and that's just because of your mental state. And it's not something I would advise doing if you have history of negative body image or sometimes eating disorders and all that. So it's something to be wary of. Measurements, very good way to understand whether you're losing fat, especially if it's waist measurement. You will find that sometimes if you measure a couple of areas, so what I do with my clients, there's a few areas in the body that we want to measure and keep track of: arms, thighs, neck, chest, waist, hips. So usually you'll find that possibly that the measurement around your arms, your legs will get bigger because we're building muscle, but then around your waist, that's when we want it to drop. So it's about understanding what we are working towards, what we are expecting in terms of the numbers, and yeah, it's slightly more nuanced and number based. So it's a good approach for people who like the stats. And yeah, like you see on the screen, the pros gives us better understanding of changes in our body composition, better predictor of health than scale as well. The content, it can be inaccurate, especially if you don't measure on the same spot every time, and can almost become obsessive and competitive, especially if we know people with same goals. Fourth, and one of my favorite, is performance. So I love measuring someone's progress through performance, essentially how you're feeling, how your sense of empowerment, your strength, what you're doing in the gym, things that you weren't doing before that now you can do, things that used to feel tough, for example carrying groceries back home. If you suddenly feel like, wow, I can carry 5 bags without struggling, or I can carry all the bags from my car to the house, which is the dream. I mean, being able to do it in one trip. But yeah, so those sort of things. The pros are the sense of empowerment, it's motivating, and you use it as a process goal, so smaller goals to reach that overall goal. It helps us enjoy the process, focus on achievement, and what we have rather than what we don't. So very much, it's a bit of a switch in mindset, really. The content is, it may require a different approach, and you may enjoy it so much that you will become a gym junkie. So I try to work on this with my clients. After a couple of weeks of working with me, we focus so much on the performance that if we skip a couple of sessions, they feel like they miss it, they need it, because there's that sort of intrinsic feeling, intrinsic motivation. So the thing is, if you find that your weight is staying the same, but you're getting stronger, you're getting fitter, this is a very good indication that we're moving in the right direction. The main reason is, if you're getting stronger, that strength is coming from somewhere, right? So that means that your muscles are growing. If your weight is staying the same, that means that something is being lost somewhere, right? And more often than not, this is fat. So you're building muscle at the same rate as you're losing fat, so the average stays the same. And that's something that is quite interesting to look at. Yeah, so this is quite a long video today. Apologies. And last thing I want to talk about is managing expectations. And this is quite interesting one because, like I mentioned in the first page when you signed up, this is a 2-week crash course. That doesn't mean that in 2 weeks you will get toned, right? It's about managing expectation. It's hard because of what we see on social media. We see those fitness influencers looking shredded and like gods and goddesses all year round, but it's not very realistic. First of all, this is their job. Secondly, often those pictures have been taken back when they were shredded, and they just keep posting those pictures throughout the year, and we never know what they do with the pictures. We never know what sort of supplements they're taking. So it's really hard to manage our expectations when we keep seeing this, but it's about understanding that it's not sustainable. Remember that progress is never linear. You always have your ups and downs, whether that's in motivation, performance, nutrition, strength, how you're feeling, mindset. But the important thing is to keep going. Whenever you feel like you are not doing well, keep pushing past this. Right, this is it for today. Again, very long one. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me blow up again. There you go. That was a very stupid joke, but so again, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have, you can send me a message, let me know how you found it. You can also take screenshots, take pictures, post on your story, tag me in. This will help me out massively. It basically helps me advertise to more people, reach out to a broader audience. I'm a small business, I'm trying to grow, so your help is very much welcome. But yeah, hopefully you found that good, and I'll speak to you guys tomorrow, and we're almost at the end of this crash course. Right, take care guys.